기자부대, hop on the beat!
Out of all of the different fandoms I've interacted with over the years, I think that without a doubt, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is the series with the most misinformation plaguing it. It seems like you can't go one day without seeing someone saying something incorrect, whether it being a misreading of the events of the story or even completely fabricated story bits. One of the worst kinds of these is with Araki interviews. At times it seems like everyone and their dog has confirmed what they believe in some non-existent Araki interview somewhere. Just following what you say with "I heard Araki said it in an interview" seems like a pretty effective method of convincing JoJo fans of something. Not only will they buy what this person says, but they'll go spread it on to more people. One of the main goals of my channel is to dispel JoJo misinformation, so maybe the best way of doing that would be to go over the correct ways of actually researching the series. In this video, I'll be going over just how prevalent misinformation is in the JoJo community, and then I'll be going over my own methods for researching videos and fact-checking claims about the JoJo series. My first real interaction with JoJo misinformation came from when I made my series of music reference videos. As almost everyone who's seen JoJo surely knows, many of the names of characters and stands take direct inspiration from the names of musicians, songs, and bands. Plenty of these are fairly obvious, and combined with the abundance of them, denying the validity of certain references would be absurd. However, I used to get comments all the time disagreeing with what I included in the video. Here's some examples. I've seen quite a few people claim that the Zeppeli family is not a reference to the band Led Zeppelin. They never actually provide a reason for them thinking this, so I assume that the one-letter difference between Zeppeli and Zeppelin is enough for them. The worst part about these comments though, and most of the comments like this I receive, is their confidence in what they say. The comments are never, "I don't think Zeppeli is a reference," they are always, "Zeppeli is actually not a reference." By stating it like this, it gives an air of authority, as if they know this information from some other source. A random person seeing a comment like this is more inclined to believe it, since they seem to know what they're talking about. The problem is, the reference to Led Zeppelin is undeniable, since it has been confirmed directly from Araki. In the JoJonium Volume 2 interview about Will Zeppeli, Araki directly says that he based the name on the band. So someone just decided it wasn't a reference with no proof and then said it as if it were true. The other most common one of these is with Dio. I've had countless people try to tell me that Dio's name is not a reference to the musician Ronnie James Dio, but that it was simply used because Dio is Italian for God. I'll give these ones a little more credit, since some of these people actually do point to an interview in which Araki does mention the Italian meaning of Dio's name. However, these people somehow seem to think that only one of these things can be true, when that is certainly not the case. I think these people also don't realize it's most likely that Ronnie James chose the stage name Dio for that very reason. But beyond that, we also have direct confirmation from multiple sources for Dio's name. Dio, along with most characters in parts 3 and 4, has had his reference confirmed in the Shueisha Jump remix, which included a column that listed the name origins of characters. Not only that, but there is also a direct quote from Araki in which he mentions both the Italian meaning and the musician as the reasons for choosing the name. But along with that are the more obscure references. I'm sure even more reasonable people would double take at a name like Whole Horse being a reference to the band Hall & Oates. The names don't really sound too similar. In Japanese they sound a lot closer, but it could still be a stretch. Believe it or not though, this reference is actually confirmed in Shueisha Jump Remix. The same is true for Avdol's name being a reference to Paula Abdul. A lot of comments have tried to correct me and say that it's actually a reference to the Saudi singer Mohammed Abdu. But no, as we see in Shueisha Jump Remix, it is meant as a Paula Abdul reference, and they even put a picture over there. These are perfect examples of ways that people believe and spread incorrect information, even when a direct source exists. Some people will even continue to argue against me after they're shown the source. But back to the topic of interviews. Beyond just making them up, sometimes there are even explicitly fake interviews out there. One channel has even been a repeat offender of this. There's a good amount of people out there that earnestly believe that Emporio is going to be the protagonist of Part 9 because of its inclusion in an interview with fake subtitles with a ton of views. There was a bit of controversy a while ago where people were calling Araki homophobic because of something he said in an interview. But of course, this was yet another fake interview from the same channel. A quick search could find the real interview where nothing of the sort is said. Not only that, but some people were even posting another fake interview from the same channel to prove Araki wasn't homophobic. So now we just have two different sides fighting each other with a bunch of stuff that never existed in the first place. This isn't even exclusive to supplementary material like interviews, it even applies to the manga itself. If you look at my Debunking Araki Forgot series, a huge amount of points are refuted by simply showing the manga itself contradicting them. The number one thing I have said and will always say to people is that they need to actually consume the series before they talk about it. This seems like a no-brainer, since someone can't exactly be a JoJo fan in the first place without reading and watching the series, right? Well, you'd be surprised at how many people there are that seemingly only consume the series through secondhand information or clips on YouTube. I've seen this plain as day back in my Debunking Araki Forgot Extras video, where I showed one of the worst examples of this. For a while I received a huge amount of comments mentioning that when Star Platinum was named by Avdol using the tarot cards, that the World card was actually drawn first, but since that name was already taken, they picked the Star card. People use this as an explanation of the similarities between the World and Star Platinum. However, such a scene doesn't actually exist in the manga or anime, and in the real scene he simply draws the Star card and that's that. This couldn't simply be someone misremembering, so where did they get this idea in the first place? Well, if you look up Star Platinum Tarot card on YouTube, one of the first results is a joke video that is edited to make it seem like they drew the World card. Although I have no idea how anyone could watch this and not know that it's an edit, since it awkwardly cuts to a shot of the World card from dozens of episodes later, with Avdol comically saying "oh shit" in subtitles that are a completely different font from the rest of the video. And also the description itself makes it clear that it's a joke edit. Nonetheless, someone apparently thought this was real and started spreading it as true, and after other people heard this, they probably searched it and found this video as well. So even one random video that is clearly a joke can be completely misconstrued by JoJo fans into being the truth. This is why I try to be very careful with what I say in videos. People have a tendency to hear what someone says on YouTube and adopt it as their own opinion. A lot of what JoJo fans think or say can be traced back to the opinions of various JoJo YouTubers, and I've even seen this with my own arguments being used verbatim. This is why I think it's really important to stick to the facts of the series, since even the tiniest slip-up can influence discourse in the future. My theory on this is quite grim, but I don't really see any other alternatives. It seems like the existence of a community of JoJo fans serves as a draw for some people over an actual interest in the source material. It's kind of a weird fear of missing out phenomenon where people are more interested in being fans of JoJo than they are in actually reading JoJo. This is easily supported by the constant talk of part skipping that you see among fans. People seem so eager to have the status of being caught up on JoJo that they're willing to skip chunks of it at a time to do so. This seems pretty contradictory to me since I don't understand how one can claim to have watched something while also having omitted huge swaths of it. Another facet of this is speed reading, where people will rush through certain segments of the material that they preemptively deemed as uninteresting in order to get what they view as the part that's more worthy of reading. The part most affected by this at the moment is Part 6. A lot of people seem to rush through it to get to the more acclaimed Part 7. As a result, Part 6 is plagued with probably the most amount of blatant misinformation of any JoJo part. A lot of people can't even seem to remember basic events in Part 6 and just write off their own poor comprehension of it as a result of Araki's poor writing. Of course, if we go back in time just a little bit, you can see a lot of the same types of opinions surrounding Part 5. Of all the parts, I think the 5th was definitely the most picked on by Western fans back in the day. However, after the anime adaptation, it seems like public opinion has flipped on it completely. I expect the same to be true for Part 6, and we'll doubtlessly see the same people who claim it's awful suddenly praise it. What I predict is that these people will claim the anime fixed the part. However, as we've seen with David Production JoJo adaptations, they're sort of one-to-one accurate to a fault, so that won't really be the case. It's just that it's a lot easier to speed read something than it is to speed watch. You don't see too many people watching on 2x speed anyways. Really, by rushing through the material like this, they rob themselves of ever properly processing the material and forming their own opinion. These kinds of things are what I believe is partially responsible for the flood of misinformation we see. So as I said, the bare minimum thing to do is read or watch the material, and do it while actually paying attention. But obviously, if you've already read a part of JoJo, you don't want to read the whole thing over again just to resolve one or two questions you may have. Thankfully, there are a fabulous amount of resources available to you to narrow down the search. Some of the JoJo community are actually quite dedicated to cataloging accurate information, as we can see with the JoJo Wiki. And no, I don't mean the JoJo Wiki that is most likely the first result on your search engine. The wiki most people probably use is the one under the fandom.com branding, formerly known as Wikia. This is a popular wiki hosting service, with most media properties having a fan-made wiki under its label. The problem with this is that the wikis made under it are constrained by the company's formatting, not to mention obtrusive ads and videos. The wiki I'm referring to is JoJoWiki.com, an independent website made by the former heads of the fandom wiki. I previously made a video about the website and I've recommended it many times. Without a doubt, this is the best source for anything JoJo related. However, I would obviously not suggest that you just read the wiki exclusively. It is meant to serve as a supplementary guide for the source material. So let's say you want to find a specific scene in question. I had to do this quite a lot with the character Dio regarding his flashback appearances in Part 6. Every character's page includes a list of chapters or episodes they appear in or are mentioned in. This is the best way of locating a specific scene in the series to reread it. Pages for characters and stands include frequent citations that will refer to specific chapters of the manga or statements from Araki in art books such as JoJo A Go-Go or JoJo Veller. It's so often that I've seen people going around making claims about the series while there are some clear citations that point to the opposite. The best possible source on JoJo would obviously be Araki himself. Thankfully, there is an extensive amount of his writings available to see on the wiki. The largest collection of these would be the Interview Archive, which features nearly every interview Araki has given. By clicking the Expand All button and using Ctrl F to search the page, you can locate his thoughts on almost any topic imaginable. This was especially helpful in my video on Fate, and without this archive I wouldn't have been able to find some really important things he said when it comes to the themes of destiny and JoJo. Another Araki source would be the JoJo Veller stand commentaries. These are a list of short comments on every stand in the series that existed during the release of JoJo Veller. This is a useful resource for determining the inspiration and design process of many different stands. Most of the arguments people have over the series can be addressed with a single panel rebuttal or a quote from Araki. However, people seem to just not understand how easy it is to locate this information, and this isn't helped by the vast amount of blatantly incorrect data floating out there. The main form of this is rumors spread about the series. Some of the most famous of these are things like supposed dropped plot points or claims about Araki's intentions with certain characters. However, almost all of these points have an easy refutation by just pointing to the catalog of information that we have. You may be familiar with a lot of arguments about the character Fugo, who left the team midway through Part 5. Some of the most popular things you hear people say are that he was written out of the story because his ability was too strong. This is completely untrue, and we have Araki's word to go against it. As Araki has said, he originally planned for Fugo to return as an enemy, but at the time Araki was struggling with depression and thought that would be too mean-spirited to do. There's also arguments over Araki's intention with Avdol's revival. Some claim that Avdol returning was a last-minute decision. However, according to Araki, his return was planned before his fake-out death ever happened. We also have the Hermit Purple-like stand used by Dio a few times in Part 3. Some claim that this was because Dio's original stand ability was to have the powers of every stand, but that it was later changed to stopping time. This is completely untrue, and nothing has ever existed to support it. However, you'll still see people to this day claiming this is a fact. Araki himself has said that this is the stand of Jonathan's body being manipulated by Dio. So if someone claims Araki said something in an interview, simply go check the interview archive and confirm it. If the information isn't there, then Araki probably didn't say it. Every interview that the person saying it could have possibly had access to would be on the interview archive. When it comes to the music references, this is also easy to check. Almost every character has a tab on the side listing their namesake. If the namesake has a citation, then it's confirmed. This is true for almost every reference in parts 3 and 4. For ones without a citation, they're usually pretty obvious to figure out even without direct confirmation. For example, I don't think anyone would try to say that King Crimson isn't a reference to the band, despite no official source directly saying so. But there are other characters whose references are not as cut and dry. So the namesake in this case is just whatever the community seems to have agreed on. For these, take them with a grain of salt, since we don't really know these ones for sure. The wiki is also home to a ton of other resources. These include every illustration Araki has made over the years, countless bits of trivia, countdown timers to the release of upcoming chapters, the lists of references Araki has made to other media, and even the list of every piece of music used in a particular anime episode. Pretty much everything you could possibly need to learn about JoJo outside of the source material is present here. So it is somewhat frustrating when misinformation is still more prevalent in the minds of some people than the actual facts are. Hopefully this video was helpful in pointing out just how prevalent JoJo misinformation is, and gives you a good idea of how to seek out information for yourself that can help you counter it. In the description I'll be linking to the JoJo wiki as well as some of the relevant pages on it. If you have an idea for another video you'd like to see in the future, comment it down below. If you want to be updated on new videos or leave suggestions, join the Hum and Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Tony, the Owl God, Keo, Alex Ramirez, Doorbell, Cloudy, Monkman, Ashton Joseph Miller, Crayon, Jesper Jansen, Rigo Vids, Zucato, Shane Giger, Sentai, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Bailey Smile, Ali, Almighty Quarth, Oof, PBASVG, Cowrie, Jojo Agogo, and Toby Nocturne.